Sweet, sweet. All right, cool. Awesome. All right, guys, what's going on? Good evening. Hopefully, you guys, like I said, have had a great start to the week. Fantastic start to the new year, guys. I know it's been an absolutely insane market. And like I said, it's really been kind of that base hits mentality. But really, the last few days, we have really started to ramp up. Specifically, Friday, obviously, we had that big rally on the non-farm payrolls. And then coming into today and yesterday, guys, we've really started to see some of those growth names really take hold. I mentioned it on the private Twitter just now, and I wanted to kind of mention it in person too. But, we are obviously seeing multi-day theme continuation, guys. So, this is very, very notable. And like I said, I think that we're really going to have some fantastic trades off of this in the future as well. So it's been a great last 3 days. And like I said, couldn't really be more excited to keep it going. So perfect start to the year on the new 25K account. If you guys haven't, been there or haven't been keeping up as well, I'm definitely taking a little bit of a new approach on the 25K, really shooting for those consistent base hits. Last couple of days, I've honestly regretted not sizing up a little bit. Especially today. But you know what? At the end of the day, you can live in the past all you want. But definitely starting to see some improvements in terms of continuation. We're seeing multi-day theme continuation now. I've mentioned it, but Mara, Riot, Bitcoin, Coinbase, all up, 30+% last couple days. So really nice to see that. A lot of growth names showing a lot of relative strength. But anyway, for today's Technical Tuesday stream, I kind of want to break this down. So again, I'm going to be streaming every single Tuesday, starting obviously, this week, guys. And we're going to be doing the Technical Tuesday stream basically like we used to, right? I was doing it twice a month. We're going to be doing this every single Tuesday. Last Tuesday was a little weird. It's the first day of the new year, so wanted to kind of let everybody new get integrated. But like I said, we're going to really be kind of getting after it now. Each and every week. So very excited about that. And then really, what I wanted to kind of accomplish on this stream is I want to walk through the Coinbase trade from today, kind of go over what I did right the last couple, the last trade of the day, which was that kind of larger scale move to the upside, got a 60% win there, really kind of made the day with some super small size. And then kind of what I honestly did wrong on the entry this morning, which ended up working out, but really I could have definitely had a far better entry and really made that a kind of week making trade. But I kind of want to go over where I went wrong with that, what I would have done differently, and kind of go over a few things like that. Next week, I'm going to be doing a really in-depth stream that I have planned in advance, which is going to be talking about fake breakouts and fake breakdowns and why those usually make the best possible long/short trades. So, obviously when you see a fake breakout, if it fails, that can really be those best, really, really good short trades. So like I said, I'm going to do that next week, and that's going to be a whole entire stream theme. So I'm very excited about that. Coming into today, right? Let's kind of talk about, where I went wrong, where I went right, etc. And I'll show you guys what I would have done differently if I could go back and do it all over again, right? So obviously, guys, the reason that coin was a focus for me is because we had a very choppy S&P 500 today, right? The afternoon was pretty clean, and looking at this, it looks a lot cleaner than I think we really saw in terms of the price action. But if you come into some of the closer time frames, this was kind of a mess right here, right? And then we started to get that cleaner breakout, but we failed again at that 390 right level, and really this was the choppy area, right? This is the 30-minute chart. I'll show you guys the 15-minute here, but really through the first half of the day, S&P was super, super choppy in this range right here. That's just kind of a mess, right? And the open was very choppy as well. Which I almost kind of expected. CPI on Thursday, that's going to be a really big deal. That's kind of the catalyst the market is waiting for. But there are strength pockets and, names that are trending really, really nicely. And that's usually if I see the S&P like this, instead of trading NVIDIA or Netflix or something like that, I'll look towards, a name like Coin, which had two really good kind of tailwind catalysts at its back today. They announced that they were laying off 25% of their workforce, therefore cutting about 25% of expenses, which is a really, really bullish sign. Wall Street loves workforce cuts on growth companies. That's just, kind of a fact. Wow, my iPad's spazzing out. That's nice. Yeah, so like I said, Wall Street loves those workforce cuts. Sorry about the little intermission there. But the bigger thing, right, is that I knew that it had two strong pieces of news behind it. So that's why it was on my radar in the first place. Very strong relative strength yesterday. And then let's kind of dig into the open a little bit, because this is where I initially kind of had my first really mistake. It ended up working, but we'll talk about where I went wrong with this entry this morning, right? So I knew I kind of wanted to trade coin long. I wanted to see how it opened first. I was hoping for a flush down. We kind of got the opposite, right? We got this massive gap to the upside. And really, I think, like I said, I'm never going to chase that first 5-minute candle like that. I might have, in a different market, but not in this market, right? Just because, the odds are not in your favor on those in this market. However, what I do want to illustrate is that we need to go back to yesterday in order to understand, really where the key level was, right? And what I should have been looking for. So we knew on the daily chart, this is the coin daily. And the thing about these trades, guys, is you have to kind of go backwards in order to learn where you went right, where you went wrong, etc., right? Clearly, we had a key level on this daily chart at 38.69 level, right? Very clearly had a daily high there on the 4th. We pulled back. Yesterday, we tested off that daily candle trap, which we'll talk about in a minute. But clearly, that was the key level, right? If we reclaimed 38.70, I figured this would be the long side vehicle today. They ended up getting good news. Beautiful back-to-back daily candles on strong volume. But I knew that the key level was that 38.70 spot, right? And so that is really where I should have been looking for an entry point. So if we go back to the 5-minute from today, right, and we kind of let's scroll back, right, to the open, right? And I took that trade pretty early on that first notable pullback that I saw this morning, right, which was on this candle right here, right? And this is the 5-minute, so remember, it's a little bit of an exaggerated view, but we got actually a pull down, right, all the way down to the 38.70 level. And twice, right, on the 5-minute, we did not get a close below 38.70. I had my risk originally set at 39, and then I kind of was like, you know what, the key daily level is that 38.70 level. I want to make sure that I'm respecting that level as a risk spot, right? So what I should have done differently, instead of taking my entry here at this 38.80 level, or 39.80 level, right, which is right around here where I took my entry, I really should have been waiting for a retest of that daily level, because we talk about that all the time. But when stocks are going parabolic, I don't like chasing parabolic moves, especially not in this market. And what you want to wait for is if a stock gaps up like that, oftentimes traders are going to want to see the key level retested. So in this case, the key breakout level was 38.70, right, on coin. So what I should have been doing, right, is been more patient. All right, I definitely had a little bit of FOMO watching that initial move. I was antsy, right, and probably did not have my best focus, right, at the time. Looking back, it's easy to say this, but just, for future reference, what I could have done differently is waiting for that classic gap up off the open, and then it comes down and retests the key level on the daily chart, right? Which I felt was a really pivotal level. That's why I stayed in the trade, right? So I ended up actually taking this trade on the next week 45 calls. I actually was down, I think 29% at one point. But anyway, that trade ended up coming back, going 22%. We tested 41.25. I exited my position there, guys, for a 22% gain. Now, the second trade of the day, right, and so that's kind of where I went wrong, and it's really just a very simple mistake, and it's that I wasn't patient enough, right? So to review, I was not patient enough there, and I should have just stuck to my guns and waited for the daily retest of that daily key level, right? So that was really just a very simple fix, and going forward, it's going to be in my mind, right? So that's, that's how we learn, right, is from mistakes like that. Now, as far as the second trade of the day, and for that, we need to go to the hourly. So I actually had two trades here on the weekly $40 calls, right? The price action was super, super inconsistent the first half of the day. But what we did get out of that, right, was a key level that definitely presented itself, right? Clearly, this 40.44 level became a very important level on the hourly, right? Because we saw two straight candles, right, top right at that 40.44 level, right? And so I knew that that was going to be a very pivotal spot. This, I know coin, like I said, like the back of my hand, guys. And so when it's strong, I know that, right? And I was conveying that, hopefully through my tweets and breakdowns and things of that nature. But I posted that chart and I said, this is the key hourly chart to watch, right? This is bullish when we see back-to-back hourly candles consolidate in the same range. And what did we have? We had those notable lower wicks. We talk about that all the time, but in my opinion, lower wicks are some of the most important parts of candle structure that you can have, right? Seeing those back-to-back lower wicks was a very, very key tell that buyers were soaking those dips down to 39, right? And I think that can be tough a lot of times because people, it's harder, you can take this strategy and apply it to, another stock like Tesla or whatever, right? But seeing those notable lower wicks like that, I knew that if we got an hourly close over the key level at 40.44, the odds were in my favor to see a gap to the upside. So what did I do? When Coinbase was strong, right, into this 40 level, it reclaimed the $40 psychological level. I took a small position on the 25K, right? I took basically a third of my normal size, right? Because I was anticipating that we were going to see a test of the 40.44 level, right? I saw the tape get a lot stronger, but at the end of the day, the hourly candle had not closed yet, right? And so I was at the end of the day anticipating, and if I'm anticipating, I'm going to be with smaller size, even if it's a higher confidence anticipation, I'm always going to be sized smaller, right? Now, what happened was, look at what happened the minute we get a close over the $40.44 level on the hourly, right? We just saw an absolutely nuclear move into the close, guys. Those $40 calls, I think, closed upwards of $5, I believe. And I was, entered in it too. So just an absolutely incredible move there, guys. And look at the price action that we saw once we got that close, right? So let's go back and look. So this is the 15-minute, right? This is the 15-minute chart. And once we got that close over 40.44, guys, it was, we were off to the races at the end of the day, right? So really that 40.44 level was right here. Those are those 2 hourly candles that topped. And then look at the price action, right? Once we cleared that hourly close over, right, we really started to see that rip to the upside, right? Breakout with continuation. And here's a good, kind of a quick lesson, right? Look at all these wicks, right? Up to these, 42.40 level, the 41.19 level, etc. That was very smooth price action because we didn't trade a lot in here, right? Throughout the morning, right? We rejected this area twice. I knew that if we could get a strong move through those areas, we were going to see a pretty big breakout, right? And that's what we got. We got that hourly close over, guys, and that's just using that hourly consolidation strategy where you see those strong lower wicks, right? And using that as a high level of confluence to enter a trade, right? And so even though I anticipated the thing that I wish I could have done differently, looking back, the only thing I would have done differently is I probably would have doubled my position once we got that hourly close over. I was planning to, but I will tell you guys one thing that I have been working on is being less aggressive in my trading to some extent right now, just because we are in such a different market. And really my goal with the 25K account is to be as risk managed as possible and really shooting for that 1% a day goal. Doesn't mean we can't make more than that. Obviously I made 2% the day before, but I'm really trying to demonstrate consistency and risk management as my, top 2 things. So, regardless, like I said, guys, that was a beautiful, beautiful move. And that was just purely using that hourly consolidation and breakout strategy to my advantage. As you can see, after that hourly close over that $40.44 level, we just saw absolutely clean as day price action on increasing volume, which is the other thing that I wanted to point out, right? We saw a lot of increased volume, guys, once we got that close over, and then really into the close, guys, 2 million shares traded, and, we have a very high volume day, going into tomorrow. So, again, that's going to, kind of the reasoning why I took that trade. And I know that a lot of people ended up holding and those calls went absolutely nuts. So, very happy. I'm very happy with the trade as a whole. I think I could have executed on this trade a little bit better today, but that's why I do these review sessions, is to kind of go through and understand why I took them and, where I could have done better, where I could have made improvements. So, like I said, guys, awesome day, about 11K total over the past 2 days on Coin. Between, the 2 accounts. So very, very excited about that. Now, all right, let's talk about going into tomorrow. I do want to illustrate that this area, like I said, guys, 40.44 is going to be a key level that I want to watch. And definitely a spot that I'm going to keep an eye on tomorrow. If we see a retest of that level, that would definitely be bullish in my opinion, and an area to look at calls. However, we've got a really clean breakout here. So again, these areas to pay attention to tomorrow, going into tomorrow, my key levels are going to be the previous high of day, which was that 40-30. Let me get this actually correct. 42.40 and then 40.44. So those are going to be my two big key levels for tomorrow. 41.19 should be an interesting spot as well, and I'm definitely going to be watching these spots very, very closely. So, coin, when it trades like this, guys, it's one of the best stocks to trade. BlackRock in the tape, 100%. Mans, any thoughts on NVIDIA? Yeah, let's talk about NVIDIA and kind of why I stayed away today, guys. You know what? I said the 156 level was going to be really important, and this is just a great example of pre-market low, right? Your after-hours low just not getting breached, right? This was clearly a key level. We had these strong wicks up to that spot, and we just could not get a break below, right? That 155 level, and luckily I stayed away from the short side. We ended up seeing a big move up, and so for me, that's one where I just wait for it to unwind, right? Once it starts to unwind, I'll take advantage of it to the downside. A clean hourly close under the 155.83 level is probably going to be my trigger there, or if we're just seeing extremely heavy pressure. But this is a market where it's very easy to get faked out. So an hourly close below 155.8 is probably going to be my trigger to take that short side. Tomorrow, going into tomorrow, guys, 160 is a very, very important level. So I would be watching to see if we end up getting a double top here at the 160.37 level. I think that it's definitely somewhat possible. But like I said, guys, I think that that's going to be a really, really important spot going into tomorrow. So going to be watching that 160.37 level. If we see a strong reject and sell off of that area, that could also be a potential short setup. But like I said, until we stop seeing dips get bought on the S&P, I'm probably going to be just focusing on playing names with relative strength. And then when the relative weakness comes back, it comes back, right? I was pretty much only exclusively shorting last week. This week has been a different story, right? Coin's been kind of all you need, right? And I've been playing in the money on coin because we have been a little bit choppier. So, that's pretty much my thought process on NVIDIA. Two very simple key levels, right, on the hourly chart. 155.83, really important spot. And looking at that short side is going to be a close under that 155.8 to 155.7 level. Really, I'd like to see a close under 155.7 on the hourly to take this short. But again, a strong rejection at 160.50 would also be a decent spot to think about short side risk to reward. So, and like I said, we'll talk about this more on the next stream next week, but false breakouts are kind of my favorite shorts right now, and we haven't seen a ton of those, right? I do want to talk about one more thing, guys. A lot of people were kind of asking me about the daily candle trap. This was probably the best daily candle trap I've ever seen, guys. Coin retested 52-week lows, lured in a bunch of shorts last Friday, and it trapped hard. Right? I mean, that's just what that is. That's a clear as day daily candle trap. You lure in shorts with relative weakness. You trap it above the prior 52-week low. Shorts get absolutely reamed because you lure in a bunch of new 52-week low shorts coming in, and then you just rip them to shreds the next 2 days. That's a clear example. And that works both ways, upside and downside, right? You can have bearish daily candle traps, but and that's a term that I have coined and use in my trading, and it's one of my favorite strategies. That's why coin was the top watch for me over the weekend. It happens, right? All right, so let's talk about what I'm going to be looking at for tomorrow. I'm hesitant to be too bullish on the crypto names still, just because we have run so hard over the past few days, but I think this theme can continue to work. We haven't seen a theme work for 3 days in a row in a very long time. So one name I'm going to be watching is SI. I think that this gap fill potential is definitely here. If we clear 1320, and really, I think if you look at the 4 hour, this stock has had its fair share of larger term, larger time frame problems, right? But if you look at the 4 hour, guys, I think any type of move over 1280 is going to trigger it. And we saw some really strong hourly candles today. And so I'm definitely going to be watching this one for a trade, not an investment, but a trade into tomorrow. This is definitely going to be one of my top watches. So Mara's up like 75% at this point. It's up another 1% after hours. Just absolutely nuts. So as far as other names I'm going to be watching tomorrow, right? I think that ARKK has had a lot of strength, guys, and we're almost seeing this as kind of a trend that is developing, right? It is a pretty clear, right? We broke high of the day on ARKK. That's why we kind of saw growth stocks all go parabolic into the close. So tomorrow, if we hold to this 33.44 level on ARKK, This definitely looks like a fantastic long to me. Retest 33.44 and hold and see buyers come in would be ideal. I definitely like the 34 calls there weekly. And then, like I said, if you look at, just look at the chart here, right? We're clearing highs on ARKK. This has a lot of room up, right? 35.87, not out of the question. This is why I'm not, ultra saying, okay, we'll probably fade this, right? Et cetera, et cetera. Normally we see a theme run 2 days, time to short, right? This is 3 days straight where if you've tried to short these crypto names, you're getting perched, right? And so when you start to see a theme develop where shorts are getting, destroyed, right, multiple days, then you start to see the possibility of a real quote unquote like squeeze happening, right? Yeah, Affirm, Roblox both look really good. I think Roblox looks fantastic. I'll tell you what, guys, going into tomorrow, the only name that's had a ton of relative strength really has been Coin. Roblox has been kind of weak. Rivian's been a little bit weak, right? If I'm gonna go long on growth tomorrow, I would rather just buy ARKK because of the daily setup that's there. Maybe Roblox does end up seeing a move tomorrow. Coin was weak too, but Roblox and ARKK are my top two. I really love both of these setups, and like I said, I may just trade ARKK for a move to this 34 level because I think it's going to be a magnet. And if we reclaim 34, guys, look at how big of a support area that 34 level has been. If we reclaim 34, it's going to be all hell breaks loose, probably for a rally to 38.50 plus. So I think there's a lot more opportunity, and seeing a theme run for multiple days in a row, guys, that's where my conviction starts to build into continuing to look at upside setups, right? Instead of just like, oh, we're coming into resistance, I'm looking at puts, right? Which was my mantra the week prior. So, let's talk about Roblox quickly. But again, that's my plan on ARKK tomorrow. I think that can continue to work outside of SPY. This Roblox chart is utterly fantastic. This is really, really nice. I didn't even realize the Roblox chart looked this good, to be honest. This looks fantastic, guys. If we hold that 31, 33 level, this looks like it's going to go 35 plus. So add this one to the watch list. Great call there. Stock Market Cody. What's going on, man? Awesome call and putting, my eyes on this. This is definitely going to be on watch tomorrow. Looks absolutely fantastic. Really nice weekly candle here as well. Reclaiming some key weekly support. Wouldn't be surprised to see this push 35 plus, right? And I think that's going to be the key. As always, I would look for a retest on the hourly. So for me, I would look for a retest of this kind of prior high of the day area. Maybe 31.67 would be ideal. I think this ends up being like a pretty nice trade opportunity, right? I would probably look at the 33 calls or maybe even the 32 calls here on RBLX. So really, really nice setup. And then the last one that I'm going to be looking at tomorrow, guys, is Netflix. What a move on Netflix. Very quietly, and I mean very quietly, is coming into an absolutely critical level. If we reclaim 329, we are going to have a field day on Netflix because this has thin air up to probably 350, guys. They have been pounding calls. Today on high volume, this chart looks fantastic for continuation. Part of the reason why I am saying these things is that more and more charts are showing like they want multi-day continuation, right? And we're not seeing them just fail, right? We're seeing more breakouts actually go through than fail right now. And that's a good sign for stocks as a whole. So, especially if you're long, right? But again, guys, anything can happen. Need to be prepared both ways. But really, like I said, guys, those Affirm, ARKK, the ETF itself, Coin will continue to be on the watch list for me as long as they are strong. Netflix looks fantastic here for a move to 332, if not higher. Remember, earnings next week, so I've been kind of avoiding this name a little bit. But again, guys, like I said, this 390 level is also very important on SPY, and we've got CPI coming, right? We've got CPI coming. This is a strong daily candle, though. Let's talk about the S&P quickly, guys. This is a tough daily candle for shorts. I will say that. I think you have a daily candle like that, guys, that's about as nasty as it gets. It really is. That's about as nasty as it gets on SPY, right? And then to have a candle print like this, that's what I'm saying. That's not fun for a short, right? If you take a short based on a daily candle like that, and then you end up getting squeezed out or you end up having to sit through the chop today and then they just rip it higher. That's where these best trades come from, right? Is the most amount of people being on the wrong side, right? When the most amount of people are on the wrong side, right, the market tends to really see a continued move in that direction. So in this case, today, a lot of people were short. And that's why we saw so much chop this morning, is because we were seeing that tug of war, right, between shorts and longs, which I didn't want to be a part of. But then look at what happened at the end of the day. They ripped it higher, right? So, again, need to pay attention to 390. But it really looks like we're going to, possibly see some continuation here. But again, I like to predict the least amount possible and really focus on reacting. I keep preaching that, guys, but it's so important. So predicting, not reacting. And again, it's base hit city right now. The 1% a day mantra is stronger than ever, guys. I've never wanted a perfect month more on a challenge account than I do this month. So I'm going to be grinding harder than ever to put out the best possible entries, exits, etc. So wow, massive bidder in Mara and after hours. What the heck is that? Jeez, 27,000 shares. That's not normal. What is that? Okay, guys, time for an impromptu lesson on level 2. In things that we think are unusual, Mara has a massive bid in after hours here, guys. Massive bidder. 30,000 shares at 582, guys. That is insane. 30,000 shares almost at 582, 27,397 shares at 582. That's about as unusual as it gets. This is the type of things probably going to see a continuation. When you see like random, like massive bidders like that, $150,000 on the bid in after hours, guys, on a name like Mara, this is an impromptu level 2 lesson. So if you're watching, there you go. That's a great thing to look for, are little things like that, like a 30,000 share bidder or 27,397 share bidder in after hours like this. That is highly unusual for Mara, right? So to see that, probably a decent signal. But that was a nice little impromptu level 2 lesson there. So, all right, guys, I hope you enjoyed. It seems like, obviously people are eating dinner, things like that. But this stream will be available to review, so you can go back, look through, obviously go through it and kind of, understand why I took the trade today. Hopefully this walkthrough was helpful, guys. Hopefully the kind of watch list and game plan for tomorrow was helpful. And like I said, guys, I really think that we're going to continue to have just an absolutely fantastic year going forward. Perfect to start the year. Never been more determined to continue it. So, and look at that. Mara's ripping now. So, all right. I hope you guys have a fantastic evening. I will see you guys bright and early on the Pre-Market Live, 9-10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Link will be posted on the private Twitter. And also just a little bit of a follow-up lesson. Look at that, right? Mara, 585. The bidder moves his bid up to 585 now, 18,300 shares, and then Mara's making highs. So great little lesson right there. Hopefully that was a cool little helpful lesson on Mara on the level 2. All right, guys, I'll see you on the Pre-Market Live. Peace.